Welcome back, everybody. Lebogang Modipa describes herself as a home-based cook, caterer and online food content creator. Her mouth-watering homemade meals she shares through her The Wife's Kitchen social media platforms continue to capture and tantalize the taste buds of her followers. To tell us more about her journey in the culinary space, Lebogang joins us now in studio. Lebo, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Morning to you too, Simpiwe. Thank you for inviting me.
Lovely having you in studio this morning. Now, first of all, take us through how your love affair with food started.
So I grew up in boarding school and they made the best food. So every time I went home, I would tell my mom about the food I was having in boarding school.
Now, which boarding school is that? The best
I went
food,
to
boarding school.
Primary in Settlers. They made the best mealie pap with stew and beetroot.
Oh, wow.
And that was
I'm hearing it for the first time because all those who went to boarding school have got gory stories to tell.
No, even my mom knows I want my kids to go there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where your love for food started.
Yes, and every time I got home, my mom would make the meals that I would tell her about.
Okay.
And she's a great cook, which is where I learned all the cooking.
Okay, so your mom taught you how to cook?
Yes.
Not the boarding masters, etc.?
No. The boarding masters, you would find the food on the table. You don't know who cooked it.
Right. Now, speak to us about your personal favorite meals that you really enjoy cooking.
I love cooking traditional food, mainly your mohodu, trotters, because they remind me of home. Living in Joburg, home being Limpopo. Every time you miss home, you think about what is it that you can do that reminds you of home without having to go home.
And you know, one thing that people get wrong is that when they cook traditional meals, you know, ostensibly to remind them of home, they use the fancy cutlery and fancy plates. Yet you should use the traditional stuff, man, like your enamel and etc.
Exactly that.
Just so that you're reminded of home.
I've got an enamel plate and mug.
Good stuff.
Every time I'm having my traditional food, it's in those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about your social media presence and you know, the meals that you share on your platforms. So why is it so important for you to be sharing such?
So I share, if you check my page out, which you did, you would realize that I don't cook your restaurant 5-star, 7-course meals. I cook normal everyday food in a different way, made tastier, made to look more presentable.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So for me, it's about people knowing that you can still cook your basic food, but it can still look like the restaurant food.
Okay. And speaking of which, I see you've got a plate here, and I'm going to ask my colleague to maybe just zoom into this plate here. What have you got here?
So I've got my favorite meal of all time. This is oxtail, cooked in red wine with dumpling.
Gosh. Just take us through the process of cooking this oxtail, because it's one of my favorite, actually.
So I cooked it in a pressure cooker to save time. I then, before I saute the meat, I rub it in flour and then brown the meat. Then in the same pot that I was browning the meat, add onions, canned tomatoes, my spices, and then take that jus with red wine and put it into the pressure cooker, put the meat 30 to 45 minutes depending on how big the pieces are.
Okay.
And you're good to go. Then you add your veggies at the end.
Yeah. And I've noticed that you're quite passionate about making you know, African cuisine and like a chicken feet, amakwenya, trotters and tripe with a modern twist. What is that modern twist? Because I've noticed, well, I'm personally not a fan of, you know, modernizing the traditional stuff. Like, say, for instance, chicken feet or mohodu and then stewing it. I'm really not a fan of that. But how do you make it with a modern twist and you make it look and taste so good?
So I believe in eating with my eyes first.
Oh, yes.
So just because I'm having maotwana and pap doesn't mean it needs to look like it was thrown on the plate. I, for one, looking at the picture, actually roll up the pap.
That actually looks so good.
So I roll up the pap because if you go to a restaurant and you were to ask for pap, it looks presentable. You wouldn't think it's the same thing that you're eating at home. So for me, it's about having the same standard and quality that I would get in a restaurant, even if it's just the simple thing as having pap and maotwana.
You know, as a cook, you keep on learning new stuff each and every day. So how do you ensure that you better your craft each and every time you cook?
So I always buy new cookbooks. I believe in books being knowledge. So I acquire cooking recipes from books, learn from other people. I watch cooking channels, and that's where I learn, because I don't believe in getting to a point where you know everything.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So there's always room for improvement. A recipe can
I also want to know everything.
A recipe can taste delicious today.
Yeah.
But you could learn that you could add a certain ingredient from somebody else and it tastes better than yours.
Okay.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Okay. So what's your favorite, condiment or spice that you have in your cupboard right now?
It has
you can't
to be
do without?
smoked paprika.
Okay.
Yes.
What fascinates you about smoked paprika?
Although it doesn't have a certain taste of its own, but it has a color. It brings out color in food.
But I'm trying to figure out smoked paprika.
Yes. So it's got this smokiness and it's red.
Okay.
So I've got a picture on my page where I've made hard body chicken. And it looks yellowish, orangish. That
Okay.
meat was cooked purely with paprika and chicken stock.
How though? You add the paprika as you boiling it?
No, so you boil it, when you fry it at the end, then you add your onion, paprika, and chicken stock. That's all.
Oh, okay. I didn't actually know that you can fry hard body. Okay. Okay, point taken. So just take us through some of the challenges you face as a chef, a content creator, and as a caterer.
I think one of the biggest ones is clientele. There is enough room for every caterer and every content creator around. But establishing a solid, consistent clientele is one of the challenges.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And what is it that chefs get wrong?
I don't know if something we get wrong. Maybe the clients like to try us all out.
Okay.
Yes. So you'd have a client, yes, they are happy, but they think, let me try the other one. Yes. But then you find those clients who will stick with you throughout.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me something, Lebo. You said that, say for instance, this octave, you cooked it in a pressure cooker, ne?
Yes.
So does it compromise the quality of the food? Considering that it takes a relatively shorter time to cook.
No, I don't think it compromises it. Because in the pressure cooker, all the pressure is within. So any juice, air that is released still goes back into the food. Yes.
Okay, got you. Now, how do your fans connect with you? Just share your handles with us.
So my handles are The Wife's Kitchen, both on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, so we could also find details of your catering business. If I want catering services, I can get them on those pages as well.
Yes, so my email address is on the page, lebogangbobo@gmail.com.
Okay. Lebo, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good stuff. That's home cook and caterer Lebogang Modipa from The Wife's Kitchen, and she joined us in the studio for a quick conversation about her culinary journey.